In the heart of Manila, amidst a vibrant nightlife scene, a seemingly ordinary Monday evening at a club quickly descends into chaos and horror. What was meant to be a joyous celebration marking the end of the school year for many students turned into a devastating tragedy that would scar the Philippines forever. From the initial signs of trouble to the rapid escalation of the fire, we uncover the shocking truths behind the inadequate safety measures, non-compliance with regulations, and the grave oversight that plagued the establishment. The mood was festive all over Manila as throngs of students marked the end of the school year, with Ozone Disco joining in on the celebration by offering a graduation promo with half-price drinks. The drink special was undeniably successful because that night, around 350 patrons in their late teens and early 20s, along with 40 employees, were crammed into the 540-square-foot club. Shockingly, that's more than 10 times the approved occupancy of the club. The venue was on the second floor of a commercial building in Quezon City, a suburb of the Philippine capital. The entrance to the club was a narrow staircase that led to a large dance floor lined with tables and chairs. The walls were covered in black draping, and neon lights illuminated the room in shades of blue and purple, creating an electric atmosphere. Ozone Disco made the most of its limited floor space to create a vibrant party experience for its patrons. The DJ booth took center stage, right in front of the dance floor, with a storeroom for technical equipment nearby. The ceiling was adorned with decorative egg cartons, adding a unique touch to the club's ambience. The walls were lined with acoustic foam to control the noise and enhance the sound quality. On the side, a semicircular bar offered a place to grab drinks and relax at tables and chairs. It would be these decorative materials that would ultimately fuel the deadly fire. The club also erected an elevated platform midway between the ceiling and the floor, serving as an indoor balcony, offering customers a vantage point of the packed dance floor. It's believed that this makeshift mezzanine addition was hastily made to accommodate the expected surge of guests during the graduation promo, without obtaining the necessary city permits or undergoing inspections. The venue had a single emergency exit adjacent to a VIP room, but the door was blocked by the establishment beside it, rendering it completely unusable. In a peculiar twist, the doors opened inward, necessitating a pull instead of a push to exit the premises. The inward swinging doors were supposed to be good feng shui to keep the money and good fortune flowing in. This design flaw would later prove to be a deadly decision. As the night wore on, the club became increasingly crowded. The air was thick with cigarette smoke, and the heat from the bodies on the dance floor was almost unbearable. The DJ played a mix of pop, disco, and R&B hits, and the crowd danced and sang along with the music. But just before midnight, an unexpected spark emanating from the bottom of the DJ booth would change everything. Assuming it was a planned part of the club's special effects, the partygoers continued their celebrations, unaware of the impending danger. But within seconds, the spark traveled rapidly towards the ceiling, fueled by the surrounding decorative elements. By the time the DJ realized the severity of the situation, the wires above him had already caught fire, and he was unable to use the microphone to alert the crowd. In a sudden turn of events, the music abruptly halted, replaced by a barrage of screams. The ceiling had erupted in flames, transforming into a terrifying barrier descending upon the unsuspecting crowd. Fragile light fixtures overhead collapsed, as did the entire mezzanine structure, tragically crushing those beneath. Thick smoke began enveloping the club, plunging it into darkness, while the relentless flames provided the only illumination amidst the chaotic scene. As the tragedy unfolded, a stampede ensued, intensifying the already challenging task of finding an escape route. People began to scramble toward the narrow stairway that led to the club's only exit, creating a crush that killed many of the patrons as they tried to escape. Those fortunate enough to reach areas beyond the main dance floor faced a new obstacle: the building's inward swinging doors. Due to their design, the crowd unintentionally impeded their path to safety, further exacerbating the perilous situation. Additional reports suggested the guards outside the building became aware of the commotion inside the club. Mistaking it for a riot, they supposedly decided to lock the doors, adding to the club's desperate predicament. Inside the blazing structure, the flames were not the only threat. The relentless smoke from the construction materials and furnishings contained a hazardous blend of highly toxic and suffocating substances. Another critical phenomenon to consider is the occurrence of backdrafts. As the fire raged within the building, it consumed all available oxygen. When a sudden influx was introduced as the two inward swinging doors opened, dramatic backdraft ensued. This resulted in a colossal fireball as the superheated gases explosively ignited. Its impact was so powerful that everyone in the hallway was forcefully struck to the ground. Meanwhile, the firefighters responding to the blaze faced a daunting task. The heavy traffic and narrow streets in the area delayed their response time, and the absence of nearby fire hydrants further compounded the challenges, severely limiting their ability to respond effectively. But no amount of training could prepare them for the grim scenes that awaited them. There were piles of bodies near the door and in the hallways. First responders had to navigate through the narrow stairway and a panicked crowd to reach the heart of the fire. Once inside, they were met with intense heat and thick smoke, making it almost impossible to see. The lack of safety measures and the hazardous design of the club made it difficult to control the blaze, resulting in the devastating loss of life. It reportedly took more than 2 hours to bring the fire under control. Tragically, many victims were so severely burned that the intense heat made their identities indiscernible. Authorities and family members had to identify their loved ones from bits of jewelry and shoes. The death toll was devastating, making the Ozone Disco fire the 7th most deadliest nightclub fire in the world. In the aftermath of the tragedy, investigators unveiled a series of critical flaws and oversights that played a crucial role in the catastrophic fire. It was determined that the fire was caused by faulty electrical wiring and an overloaded circuit. The club's interior, featuring flammable materials and inadequate fireproofing, facilitated the rapid spread of the blaze. Inspectors found the building lacked adequate emergency exits. The club's sole emergency exit had been rendered entirely unusable due to the construction of an adjoining building, leaving patrons trapped inside with no means of evacuation in the event of a fire. Furthermore, the venue failed to meet basic fire safety regulations, such as clearly marked exits, a fire alarm, water sprinklers, and functional fire extinguishers. The expedited construction process, which evaded inspections and proper permit acquisition, allowed Ozone Disco to operate despite its failure to meet the necessary safety requirements. These factors, combined with the venue's overcapacity and poorly designed doors, created the perfect storm of hazards, ultimately transforming the Ozone Disco into a deadly fire trap. Following an 18-year-long legal battle, the nightclub owner, fellow stockholders, and 7 city officials were convicted of graft and received sentences of up to 10 years in prison. The court found that the officials issued the club with safety permits without the necessary safety checks. In addition to prison terms, 2 company executives were fined more than 25 million Philippine pesos each, and the company was ordered to pay 150,000 pesos to the relatives of those who died and 100,000 pesos to each of the injured. But since the company filed for bankruptcy, the victims remain at a loss on how to lay claim to the damages due to them. In reality, their lawyers indicated that the largest compensation received by families of those killed was just 20,000 pesos each. For many years after the tragedy, a makeshift memorial stood at the site as a poignant reminder of the lives lost on that fateful night. In 2015, the deteriorating building was finally demolished. Since then, the location has been occupied by a well-known local fast food chain. The incident served as a wake-up call for authorities to improve its fire safety regulations and enforcement. It also highlighted the need for building owners and operators to prioritize the safety of their patrons and employees. A quarter-century has passed since the tragedy, but for the families of the 162 victims who died, no amount of time will make them forget about the deadliest inferno in Philippines history. and the 7th deadliest nightclub fire in the world. Watch this episode next if you found this video interesting. Please add a like and leave a comment if you want to support the channel.